Sports is a demanding endeavor. To be successful, athletes must be in great shape, possess superior coordination, understand strategy, and be mentally tough and totally dedicated to their team and their sport. They also have to be tuned to what their bodies are telling them, because athletics demand a healthy and highly conditioned body. Broken bones, pulled muscles, concussions, cuts and sprains, all of these can keep you out of competition. But there is something you need to know about that is less obvious, but much more serious: contagious skin infections. Not only will these bad boys knock you out of competition, some of them, like herpes, will be with you forever. And others, like MRSA, can cause you to lose limbs or even your life. These are serious infections. The pathogens travel from one athlete to another using the infection matrix. Here's how the matrix works. Pathogens usually follow the direct path of skin-to-skin contact. Athlete A has an infection on their epidermis that is touched by athlete B. Now athlete B can become infected. Or they travel from athlete A's skin to an article of clothing or equipment, which then comes in contact with someone else's skin. Maybe they go from one person's skin to something in the athletic environment, like wrestling mats or a weight machine, which someone else then touches. The matrix even provides a path from the skin to something in the environment, then to a towel, and finally to someone else's skin. There are many paths through the matrix. Although these pathogens can be easily passed from one athlete to another through the physical nature of sports, the good news is that if we are smart, we can greatly reduce our risk of getting them. I'm John Ritchie. I faced some formidable opponents in my seasons with the Oakland Raiders and the Philadelphia Eagles. But I gotta tell you, these microbes are scarier than anything I've seen on the football field. It's important that we talk about them. So I'm here to explain what these contagious skin infections are, show how they spread, give you tips on how to avoid them, help you find out if you have any of them, and if you do, how they affect your health and your eligibility to compete. 3 things cause the skin infections that we're talking about: fungi, bacteria, and viruses, microorganisms that live on our skin. They are always there. Although most of the life forms on our skin are actually helpful, we're here to talk about the ones that are not. If you looked at them through a microscope, they would appear to be rather unremarkable. No big deal, right? Wrong. Don't be fooled by their simple appearances, because they can be serious trouble. The human skin is an amazing organ. The average adult has about 20 square feet of it, about the size of a small blanket. Let's take a closer look. If we were knee-high to a flea and standing on the surface of your skin, it would be a pretty wild place. It may not look like it, but this is home to a very specialized ecosystem of microorganisms. I can barely see the inhabitants, because even from my new miniature point of view, they're still only about the size of a flea. The landscape, or should I say skinscape, is dominated by large populations of yeast and bacteria that live in a competitive balance, munching on dead tissue. Healthy skin is a signal that they are keeping each other in check and that neither one is getting out of hand. Our skin is made up of 3 layers. The top layer is the epidermis, which is composed mostly of tough, flat, dead cells. These cells flake off at the rate of 30,000 to 40,000 per minute and are constantly being replaced by new cells that push up from the bottom. It takes about a month to get a completely new layer of skin, and each of you will probably lose about 40 pounds of skin in your lifetime. The middle layer is the dermis and is connective tissue with specialized things like hair follicles, sweat glands, and oil glands. Below that is a layer of fat that acts as insulation to help your body maintain the proper internal temperature. Together, the 3 layers make a formidable barrier to unwelcome things that want to get in. This is the skin's most critical function. It is the first level of defense in protecting the body from outside invaders. If there is a breach and bacteria gets in, the body reacts by going to level 2. It increases blood to the area to aid in the delivery of defensive specialists. This results in redness, swelling, and a fever. Special white blood cells close in, identify the targets, and eat the offenders. Powerful chemicals are also released to help in the defense. The aftermath of a fight with white blood cells is pus. It is the body's way of sealing off the invaders from the rest of the body. If you have a pimple, you know that a fight is going on. If that's not enough to stop the attack, we go to level 3, which is the release of specialized antibodies that are prepping for destroying specific microbes. Antibodies are very efficient at fighting bacteria and fungi, particularly if it is a repeat infection, because antibodies have good memories and they know what worked the last time they had to destroy the invaders. Level 3 usually gets the job done. Sometimes, however, the bacteria are very resistant and our bodies need help in fighting them. That's when we go to level 4 and use antibiotic medicines like penicillin. Unfortunately, bacteria have become resistant to some antibiotics, making treatment difficult. If the skin is healthy and not damaged by cuts, scratches, or surgery, it is difficult for outside organisms to get through. They are stuck here on the surface to live out their lives or be wiped onto something else. For athletes who have a lot of skin-to-skin or skin-to-equipment contact, all of these microbes love you, for you are their opportunity to explore new worlds. Let's start with the fungus among us. A fungus is neither a plant nor an animal. It is a simple life form that lives as a parasite on its host. The air is constantly filled with fungus spores that are floating around, hoping to land on an agreeable surface. Generally, dark, moist spots are their favorites. Common examples are mold and mildew. Some fungi are useful, however, for such things as baking bread, creating medicines, and making cheese. The types of fungi that we are concerned with are more annoying than dangerous, although they will disqualify you from competition because they are very contagious. Athlete's foot, jock itch, and ringworm, which is not a worm by the way, the rash simply resembles one, are examples of common fungal infections. They feed on the material found in the outer layer of skin, hair, and nails, and multiply by producing spores and forming colonies, spreading out from the center. They spread to other athletes by skin-to-skin contact or from infective clothing, equipment, or towels. You're probably wondering, how do I know if I've become infected? First, this important disclaimer. Please keep in mind that this information is not intended to replace a medical evaluation for any skin disorder. These are only guidelines. Always seek the advice of your athletic trainer, team physician, sports medicine physician, dermatologist, or a knowledgeable physician when any skin condition presents itself. If you think that you have any of these symptoms, be responsible. Don't try to hide them. This would put others at risk. With proper diagnosis and treatment, contagious skin infections don't have to sideline athletes. I want to stress 2 points here. One, if you are careful, you can greatly reduce your chances of getting one of these. 2, see your athletic trainer or doctor immediately if you think you're coming down with something. The sooner you start treatment, the sooner you can return to practice and competition. How do you know if you have a fungus growing on you? Itching, redness, and flaking on your feet, between your toes, and on your groin are the most common symptoms. But these can also be caused by things other than fungi. Your doctor will scrape the site and examine it under a microscope to make sure. You can avoid jock itch and athlete's foot by washing your body, especially your feet, groin, and areas where clothes or gear are tight-fitting. Wear flip-flops in public showers, pools, and locker rooms. Also, remember to wipe off surfaces of exercise equipment with a clean towel. Ringworm is different in that it causes a distinctive red ring surrounded by a less flaky, red, itchy area. Over weeks, the ring slowly enlarges. Ringworm can show up anywhere on the body. If you have ringworm, you will not be able to participate if it is active. Your athletic trainer may give you the okay after 3 days of treatment with an antifungal medication and keeping the lesion covered with a bandage. You will probably have to continue treatment for 2 weeks. Remember, fungi love dark, moist areas. Break the fungus infection matrix with the 3 E's of the wash cycle: epidermis, equipment, and environment. Epidermis. Wash your skin immediately after practice or competition with plenty of soap and water. Remember, don't share soap. Equipment refers to clothing, towels, sport gear like knee pads and helmets, and personal items like razors and soap. Always use a clean towel and don't share it with anyone. Launder your clothing. Don't just stuff it into your locker until the next practice. Damp towels and moist clothes are favorite growing spots for these microbes. Environment. Every surface that your skin touches needs to be kept clean. This includes public shower floors, weight room equipment, wrestling mats, and apparatus. Bacteria are everywhere on Earth, living in every environment imaginable. There are hundreds of thousands of species of bacteria. Your body contains approximately 10 times more bacterial cells than human cells. Most live in our gut to digest food or on our bodies eating decaying skin and producing body odor. The vast majority of bacteria are good, and humans could not survive without them. For the most part, if bacteria are not beneficial, they are easily handled by our body's immune system. Unfortunately, some bacteria are bad, and a few are really bad. The bad bacteria we're talking about today are staph and strep. One species of staph, we'll call it staph A, is a particularly nasty microbe that is responsible for many infections from pimples to pneumonia. The crazy thing is that 20 to 30% of us have populations of staph A on our skin or in our noses, and it doesn't cause any problems. The same is true of strep. We think of strep as the bacteria that causes strep throat, a serious illness that, if not treated, can lead to more dangerous illnesses that can permanently damage our bodies. Strep also causes skin infections. Not all strep species are bad, however, and are considered normal inhabitants of our mouth, skin, intestine, and upper respiratory tract. If you have staph or strep living on you but you're not sick, you are said to be colonized. If you are sick, then you are described as infected. The trouble with strep and staph starts when they go where they don't belong, like into our bloodstream. This usually happens when they enter the body by penetrating the first line of defense, the skin, usually through a hair follicle, wound, or incision. And the battle is on. An example of this is folliculitis. It is a common but very contagious condition caused by staph that has infected a hair follicle. This can happen anywhere on the skin, but most commonly on the neck, thighs, buttocks, armpits, or beard. It starts as a sore, red area as your body fights the infection. As the battle rages, pus forms, causing a lump that develops a yellowish tip that could grow into a large bump or boil. See a doctor and don't pop it, as that will spread the infection. The doc will probably drain any large pus-filled bump and may treat it with antibiotics. It will need to be covered to avoid further irritation and prevent spreading to others. Impetigo is a serious bacterial infection that can be caused by either staph or strep. It originates as a small red pimple or red spot that grows into a blister called a lesion with a red base. After a few days, the lesions break open, ooze fluid, and form a thick honey-colored crust. The lesions spread, oozing fluid and crusting over. It is very contagious. You will be disqualified if there are moist blisters on your skin. Your athletic trainer may let you return if they have crusted over and you have been treated with antibiotics for 3 days and there aren't any new blisters for 2 days. You will need to take medicine for 7 to 10 days. The bigger problem is that strep and staph A are clever evolutionary survivors and they keep mutating and changing, which makes them able to fight off even the most powerful drugs. There is a variation of Staph A, called MRSA, that is resistant to common or traditional drugs. Impetigo caused by MRSA can be very difficult to treat and extremely dangerous. If you start getting red spots, especially around the nose or mouth, or what looks like a pimple, in other words, a bump with pus, under a piece of equipment like a knee pad, see your athletic trainer or doctor immediately, because it can be much worse in 24 hours. But we can help our skin. Remember the 3 E's of the wash cycle: epidermis, equipment, and environment. Viruses are much smaller than bacteria, and many scientists don't even consider them to be living things. They are bits of genetic material that can't grow or reproduce on their own. They need to invade a host cell. The genetic material is surrounded by a capsule of protein and travels through the body looking for a suitable host. Each virus can only infect a specific group of cells. It attaches itself to the cell's membrane and breaks through. The virus's genetic material makes its way to the cell's nucleus, where it takes over and uses the pirated cell as a tiny virus factory. Eventually, it is time to break out and infect other cells, destroying the host in the process. Like fungi and bacteria, viruses are everywhere. They are responsible for many infections and diseases, from the common cold to HIV and chickenpox. The biggest viral threat to athletes is facial herpes. It is related to but different than sexual herpes. When a herpes virus penetrates the skin, it causes an initial infection, which can cause a fever or flu-like symptoms, including a sore mouth or sore throat. Sometimes painful blisters can form on the tongue and gums and or around the lips. Untreated, these can last for up to 14 days. After the initial infection, it travels up the nerves to a spot near the spine, where it lives for the rest of the host's life. The host cannot get rid of it. From time to time, which may be weeks, months, or even years, something triggers the virus back into action, causing it to travel back down the nerve and creating an outbreak of cold sores, blisters, or other symptoms near the site of the original infection. The person is very contagious at this point. In fact, they are infectious days before the outbreak of sores, or possibly when there are no symptoms. The outbreak lasts for a week or so, and then it's up the nerve again to sit and wait. Herpes is spread through contact with the open blisters and saliva. Athletes can be contagious if their bodies are shedding the virus and they rub their skin against others. There is no medicine to cure you of herpes. Once you get it, you have it forever. The best you can do is manage it with the help of your doctor. Facial herpes, or herpes gladiatorum, usually has 4 distinct stages. There is a tingling, burning, or itchy feeling in the skin, often accompanied by a headache or achy joints, which can last from 2 to 48 hours. This is known as the prodrome. Next are swelling and the development of a number of fluid-filled blisters around the lips or nose. This is followed by the formation of a cluster of intensely painful blisters, often around the head, face, neck, and upper body area. The blisters burst, releasing highly contagious fluid, leaving fluid-filled sores. The virus is spread by contact of the fluid with skin, clothing, or equipment. Skin-to-skin contact is the primary method of spreading. Finally, the sores dry out and scab over and heal within a couple of weeks. You will be disqualified when moist, active lesions are present. You may be able to return to competition after 5 days of medication, when all active lesions are dried and crusted and there are no new lesions present for 2 days, or 3 days for NCAA competition. Also, you must be symptom-free. It is important to know that you will probably sense the onset of an outbreak a few days before it happens. Symptoms include fever, chills, muscle aches, fatigue, sore throat, and headache, as if you had the flu. You will also experience burning, stinging, and itching at the site of the infection. Many doctors can help control and suppress the reoccurrence if you tell them at this time. You are contagious before the reappearance of the lesions. It is called viral shedding, and the virus is contained in your saliva and other body fluids. Be responsible to the other athletes and don't hide your symptoms. Having any of these conditions doesn't have to permanently sideline you from sports. You just have to be smart, thorough, and considerate of your fellow athletes. Work with your doctor or athletic trainer, and they will get you back in competition as soon as it is healthy and safe.
Hi, I'm Joe Heskin, assistant wrestling coach at The Ohio State University. And I've been around wrestling long enough to know that these skin infections are a huge problem in our sport. Joining me is wrestling and coaching legend Dan Gable to talk about how wrestlers, coaches, and managers can avoid these serious problems. As wrestlers, we are known as the modern-day gladiators, right? But don't underestimate the impact that diseases like herpes gladiatorium and tinea gladiatorium can do to us, because they are fighters as well. It used to be that if a person wrestled long enough, he or she would eventually contract one of these infections. But it does not have to be this way. To eliminate or at least control them from spreading, it will take the efforts of all athletes, team managers, athletic trainers, coaches, family members, and doctors. It is possible, but everyone must be thorough and committed to the process. Don't underestimate your role, because the most important steps start with you. The best way for everyone to avoid catching one of these diseases is to remember the 3 E's of the wash cycle. Epidermis, the scientific name for the outer layer of our skin, equipment, and environment.
The 3 E's, when taken seriously, help you and your team achieve the 4th E, excellence on the mat.
The first E is for epidermis. After practice or competition, take the time to completely wash your body with plenty of soap and water.
There's so many things that can be done. When you're in a hurry after practice, athletes, a lot of times you're not going to get the job done. You need to take your time. It can also help your performance by evaluating and thinking about what took place, planning for the next phase of training, and all this time that you're doing this, you can be taking hot showers, cold showers, using recovery type tools that will help you eliminate and prevent, because prevention is something that you really need for the 3 E's of the wash cycle.
The second E is for equipment. Here are some examples. Always use a clean towel, and don't share it with anyone. Use soap dispensers instead of sharing a bar of soap. And forget about borrowing someone's razor.
You never want to wear the same equipment 2 times in a row. You must always get them laundered.
Launder your clothing. Don't just stuff it into a locker until the next practice. Damp towels and soiled clothes are favorite growing spots for these microbes. Get in the habit of cleaning your gear, particularly headgear, knee pads, and elbow or knee braces. Anything that rubs against your skin. Spray it with the recommended cleaner and wipe it with a tissue or gauze pad, which you will then throw away. Do this at least once a week. Clean your equipment bag the same way. Managers, the same goes for laundry bins. Change the liners of the bins after emptying them of wet towels and before filling them with clean ones. The third E is environment. The cleaning crew has to be thorough in wiping down high-risk surfaces like mats and exercise equipment. This university has a process of wiping mats and other surfaces with special cleaners before every practice.
Besides cleaning mats, you should be cleaning the wall mats. If you have throwing dummies, don't forget to clean the throwing dummies. You also have takedown machines. You should be cleaning those takedown machines. You know, and all surface type of equipments, like weight training type of devices, those need to be cleaned on a daily basis or after use, before use.
But it is also your responsibility to clean your workout environment before and after you use it. Use sanitizing wipes. It doesn't take long and it's easy to do. On workout machines, Place a layer, it could be clothing or a towel, between your skin and the surface. Because of the physical close contact nature of wrestling, we were probably at the highest risk for skin infection of any sport. And there is nothing heroic about having herpes or MRSA or ringworm. These are conditions that need to be avoided, and they can be if you are smart, careful, and thorough with your personal hygiene. In my opinion, wrestling is the greatest sport there is. You know as well as I that there are no shortcuts for conditioning or learning the proper techniques. And yet, no matter how strong, well-conditioned we are, success and failure for that matter often comes down to the little things, the details. That's how it is with skin infections too. Don't overlook the importance of the little things, keeping things clean, or talking to your athletic trainer or doctor if you suspect you're coming down with something. Have them check out your cuts, scratches, and brush burns. Hey, that's their job.
Precaution is something that we need in our sport. It doesn't have to be a big issue. You master those issues, and when you master the issues, you're basically eliminating the 3 E's. The 3 E's of the wash cycle, which is epidermis, which is equipment, which is environment. And when you have those mastered, you worry about only one thing, and that's what you want to work on, and that's mat performance, excellence. So there's a lot of E's here. Essentials, epidermis, equipment, environment, and of course, excellence on the mat. And that's what really counts.
The benefits of wrestling are enormous, and it has changed my life. I want it to be a great experience for you too. I have been blessed with a successful career, and wrestling has given me the opportunity to travel the world, from Cuba to Iran, Brazil to Switzerland, and I've never missed a match due to skin infections. Gladiators, you have been warned. Prepare, for excellence awaits.
The skin is an amazing organ that is very successful at keeping unwanted and unhealthy invaders out of our bodies. As athletes, we can make it difficult for our skin to do its job. We get cuts, scratches, punctures, and gashes, opening our body to infection. We forcibly rub our skin against contaminated surfaces, giving microbes opportunities to jump aboard. And we provide a hot, sweaty environment for pathogens to grow and multiply. But we can help our skin. Remember the 3 E's of the wash cycle. Clean the 3 E's on a frequent basis and you will greatly reduce microorganisms' opportunity to infect you. When these pathogens are on our skin, they are stuck there, relatively harmless unless they can find a way in. This is when they can be defeated with good hygiene, before they can be wiped onto someone who is less careful about breaking the infection matrix. Remember to wash your skin, clothes, and equipment like a fanatic. Cover your cuts and other wounds with bandages, and see your doctor if you suspect anything weird is going on with your skin. The reason these infections are as widespread as they are is because people haven't been careful. We can change that, but it will take everyone's help. That includes talking to your doctor or athletic trainer when you have questions or concerns. In fact, get into the habit of talking to a medical professional every time you get a cut, scratch, brush burn, or skin lesion. The sooner they can start taking care of it, the better your chances for a quick recovery. We've been talking about some pretty nasty stuff, and I'm not here to scare anyone into dropping out of sports. You are an athlete, you're a competitor. Approach contagious skin conditions like you would any other worthy opponent. Respect their ability, have a strategy, and execute your game plan. Do that and you will break the infection matrix and we will all win the fight against contagious skin infections. Have a successful and infection-free season. Good luck.